So today's speaker is Gail Whitlow. Gail is Mohawk, born into the Bear Clan of the Haudenosaunee, and she's from 6 nations of the Grand River Territory. Gail has an impressive amount of knowledge and experience, and I'm going to turn it over to her to let her introduce herself more fully. So welcome, Gail. So glad to have you here today, and I will turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Even though it's, through the Zoom format, I finally get to meet you, and it's a pleasure to be with everyone today. It's a beautiful day here. The sun is shining, and we're getting ready for that season change. And every time that we experience any type of change, there's always some planning that we have to do in order to be ready. So I'm going to start simply. One of the things that's at the forefront of everybody's mind is COVID, and I just want to take a few minutes to first do a little bit of an opening, and then I just want to talk briefly about COVID, and then we'll continue on from there. So we have there's a lot of different ways to do an opening, and what I would like to do is simply just to have everybody maybe just put themselves into a place of calm. So just taking a couple of nice deep breaths and just kind of closing your eyes. And as you do so, I just want you to take into consideration everything that is around you, both near and far. We talk about the four-leggeds and, their contribution to our health and well-being, and the plant medicines, and the food medicines, the healing medicines, and also the medicines that help heal not the human being, but every plant has a place in nature. Also considering the water, and we've had so much controversy and issues with our water, and so just kind of give helpful healing prayers, towards our water sources. And of course, we have our winds, and we have our thunder beings, and our thunder beings have really been working hard. And so when our thunder beings have to work so hard, we have to understand that they're doing their duty, and they're working hard because there are things that are shifting and changing, and their presence has to be felt so that we can still maintain balance. We give thanks to our Grandma Moon and our Father Sun, and of course all of the ether and the holy ones, and every aspect that we encompass. We just want to give thanks, especially for us as human beings. A lot of times we don't take that time to send us greetings as well, because we are here with a specific duty and path that we follow. So we have to honor each and every one of us who have come at this time. So if there's anything I missed, please feel free to put it into your thoughts there, and just simply give thanks. And with that, our minds all are one. So now I'll go for that. So my name is Gail Whitlow. I'm from 6 Nations, as mentioned, and I'm the mother of 5 and the grandmother of 15. And of course, there's so many more that you add on, have a nice sized family, and that keeps our bloodline going, but it also gives us more duties and responsibilities. So our responsibilities are always to look ahead into the future and to plan for our 7 generations that are still to come. And when we can do the best that we can for those coming faces, then we know that our work is going to be fulfilling for for us and those that follow. So just putting that 7 generations, into our hearts and minds, and hoping that when they come, they will find a world that is still full of beauty and balance. I mean, even with all the changes that we're going through now, we still have that beautiful aspect to our lives and to the world around us. But that's if we take the time to look. A lot of times we get stuck in not paying attention to the beauty that surrounds us. So I just wanted to, take this opportunity to, just to look at, our forests. Our forest, when you take a walk through a forest, you're doing more than taking a walk. You're allowing these really deep, powerful connections to happen that don't happen when we're sitting, in our houses that are all insulated and they're comfortable, but we still need that other connection to keep us healthy and whole. So saying that, I want to put up a COVID chart that I have created. Now, a lot of people are concerned. We have, issues to deal with that are affecting many people around the world. And, we have choices that we have to make, do you vaccinate or don't you vaccinate, and, all of those things. And it's not about do you or don't you, it's about what we can do to keep ourselves healthy and to build up our immune system in a natural way. So I'm just going to pull up here see if I can do this. There we go. I'm going to pull up this. Can everybody see this now? Okay. I just wanted, if you have a camera on your phone, you might want to just take a picture of this, or it might be in, when you can look at it again by reviewing the video again. So I own Ancestral Voices Healing Center here at Six Nations, and I've owned the center since 2007. And one of the aspects to my being here is being able to provide these medicines. So this is just some of the medicines I carry. I have like over 200, more than 200 medicines that I have in stock on a regular basis. One of the reasons why I felt it was important to do this was because it's time for us to take back our own health. It's time for us not to be dependent on, other systems, that want to feed us nothing but pills. And anybody that has been through that, that realm of all of that medication, sometimes it makes you worse instead of better, because there's so many interactions with all the different medicines that we're taking. On the other note, though, it is beautiful that we do have options for taking and being responsible for our health. So a lot of these medicines are in your backyards, or within 100-mile zone. There's some that come from further away, but the reason why I feel it's so important is because teas have what we might call a very high medicinal value, vitamins, they have nutrients, they have minerals. And the reason they're important is because we're not getting that from our food. Unless you are growing your own gardens and canning, and it's so nice to see that many people are doing that. Here at Six Nations, before COVID, there wasn't as many gardens, but now you drive around and you can just see the love and the care. And now we're seeing all the posts of, how everybody is gathering and canning and preparing in that way. So, COVID does have its benefits. And I think one of the benefits are, getting back to thinking about our health in a more proactive way. Not to mention, when you're working in your gardens, it gives you a sense of connection. And it's one of the wonderful things that we can do in our healing journey. You know, if you're prone to depression and, you know, all of these things that we are seeing a lot more of these days, a garden is a beautiful way to deal with those things, because once you have your hands in the Mother Earth, you know, oh shucks, I just got to plug in my computer. It's gonna say bye-bye if I don't. One second. It's handy. There we go. Didn't want to lose everybody before we get started here. There, I meant to do that before I got on, but good thing I have like these messages that come up on my screen. Yeah. So yeah, working in these gardens is a well-known therapy. It helps us to, you know, really deal with our stress in a much better way. And I know that you know, my mom, she was such a busy woman. She has 7 children, and she was I would call her an athlete, because boy, that woman, she could she was known for her baseball skills. And she had 7 children, and we were all, you know, always active into something. Plus she kept her garden. Plus she was also, you know, coaching, and I don't know how she did it actually. But her love was her garden. And she spent a lot of time nurturing and loving and caring and planting, and, you know, it was just amazing. And, you know, we didn't always like to be out there pulling weeds, but I'm so glad that I've had the opportunity to learn with her, because she knew so much about that food. But there was nothing better than that first tomato of the season. You know, you get that first tomato, it's like, oh man, you make that toasted tomato sandwich or whatever you do with it, and it's just heavenly. Like, there's no taste that compares to something fresh out of your garden. So I really give thanks to my mom, you know, for creating that for us, so that we could be part of something that we didn't realize was important as it really was. And so the medicines on this chart that you see here, I've kind of categorized them a bit, so that, you know, if you're experiencing a fever, then these are a list of medicines that really help to control the fever. But also know one thing: a fever has a purpose. A fever helps to burn away the virus, that helps to burn away whatever's invading your body. And so it's helpful to have a fever, because it's working to control, you know, your body systems. It's when the fever lasts too long and it gets to a place of, you know, when it gets too high, we have to worry. So we do have medicine. So we were always taught. My mom was also a registered nurse, and it's not always good to have a mother as a registered nurse, because, you know, she'd look at your cut and say, oh, that's nothing, you know, or anything that was going on, oh, that's nothing, you know, unless it was a blood and gash. Well, God take you for stitches, you know. But you know, so we also learn a lot in that way too. So a lot of these medicines here, like angelica root, bear root, bergamot, birch bark, boneset, catnip, chanca pedra, cramp bark, dandelion, elderflower, eucalyptus, eyebright. A lot of these we can access quite easily. Of course, there's the store. We do carry all of these in the store, but they are really good at fever, but they also deal with some of the other symptoms. So one of the most powerful medicines for COVID is bear root. So with bear root, it also has a affinity for the respiratory system. So what I do with bear root, and what I have my children and my grandchildren, even my little grandchildren, will do this. But I burn one end of the bare root, and then I inhale the smoke up the nostril for about 10 seconds, and then do the other side. And what happens when you do that is it kills that COVID virus. So it does not allow it to travel deeper into your system because it gets it right then and there. So my daughter uses that for my grandchildren as they come home from school. So as soon as they get home from school, they inhale that bare root because we're just taking those preventive medicine cautions so that we're not affected by that. Part of the reason is, there's older people, grandmothers, and when I say older people, heck, I'm getting up there really fast. Like I'm over 60 now, and that 70 is just within sight, and it's kind of really hard to imagine that I'm one of those older people now. But it happens, and so when they're around older people, they want to make sure that they're doing the best to make sure that they're not spreading any viruses. So then we have another aspect to the COVID is that sore throat. So that's one of the first things you notice is it's kind of a tingling or kind of a sore throat. So all of the medicines that I have listed under sore throat are really good for gargling. First of all, you make a tea, and then it's really helpful to like gargle with these medicines. And as you gargle with these medicines, it's helping in the way that they work to help you to deal with the sore throat. Some of the nice ones, of course, would be like the marshmallow, because the marshmallow and the slippery elm, they have mucilage to them, and a lot of medicines do. And when you drink it, it coats that throat. The other thing to remember too is with COVID, some of the signs that are mentioned is, because I've talked to so many people now that have had COVID, is it's kind of like it's a hot sore throat. So what you want to use is something that is cooling and protective for the throat. So that's where this list comes in. The next thing you want to do is you want to work with that respiratory system, because that seems to be what follows, that sore throat and that cough. So you have a whole listing, as you see, of respiratory medicines here. And some people say, well, there's this great big list in front of me. How on earth do I know what to pick from that medicine chart? What one's best for me? So what I do is if you're looking at this chart and you're going through the list and something sticks out at you. So I'll say I'm looking at fever, and all of a sudden I see elderflower. And it's kind of like there, it seems like it's in great big bold letters, and it kind of like stands out from the page. It's because it's telling you that might be your choice, your best choice for fever. So we have to also develop our intuition so that we can understand that our body knows what is best for us. So if we can do that on our own. We don't have to have someone to tell us, well, which one would you recommend out of that? I always say, which one do you feel you're attracted to? You've used passion flower at some point, or maybe you've used cold foots at some point, and you know how they work already. Maybe those are the ones that they're saying, yes, I have a relationship to this medicine, and so I know that it's going to work wonderfully for me. So I'm just trying to show you that we are in control of our health. Whether you're vaccinated, whether you're not vaccinated, you still need to understand that these medicines have a very important role to play. One of the things that are really powerful for those that have not had the COVID is the immune boosters. So what is an immune booster? So an immune booster is something that gets your system working better. And that's why we look at immune boosters as one of the most powerful things that we can do. An immune booster is simply something that helps us to prepare for anything that might come our way. It kind of gives us that edge. So our immune boosters are like really powerful. And a lot of people are fighting cancer. So number one step in cancer treatment is always to boost your immune system. So these immune boosters here are also really helpful for, for those that also are fighting cancer, because not everybody's fighting COVID. We have a lot of other issues. And these also work for those that aren't feeling well because their organs are starting to not function like they did when they were 19. The older we get, things change over time. Usually it's our level of activity. Once you get older, you don't have that drive to be out riding your bike and hiking the Sierras or anything anymore. You kind of find that your focus is on like so many other things. So I'm providing this list for you just so that you can get a feel and maybe take some time later and go through this list so that you can possibly make some decisions as to what you can have on hand to prepare for not just COVID, but any type of cold or flu or symptom. The other thing you should know about the flu is it's helpful to have, it's also to help to have the flu sometimes. And why? Because it helps you to clear stuff from your body. So what happens if you have things building and building and building and building and building over time as your body becomes what we might call toxic. And once it gets to that level, we need something to help us to bring our body back to balance. And so that's what a cold or flu does sometimes. Sometimes we don't know enough to pay attention to our body and we're working it too hard. And we need something to say, just take a rest. You need to take a rest. And how many of us know that, it comes at the worst time? Well, there's no really good time to get sick, but it seems to come at the worst time. All of a sudden you feel that, oh my gosh, I'm coming down with something. Well, that something is also something for you to think about, because you want to be able to live your life until you're, well, I aim for 87. I don't know how long anybody else wants to live, but if I make it to 87, I'm doing wonderfully for myself. And so that's my goal. How do I make it to 87? Well, I'm going to make sure that I do what I can to make sure that I stay as active as I can, and I know about the medicines, and I can drink my medicines, and I can do whatever it takes. So if you have any questions, about this, we might be able to put that in the chat, and I can answer them at the end. So I'll stop the share on this now, and we'll talk about other things, okay? All right. So,
Thank you, Gail.
Yeah. Well, are there questions about that first? Maybe
there are a couple questions in here, so I don't know if you want to take them now or at the end.
Yeah, I think I will, only because they're it's about what we just talked about.
Yeah, so someone asks, does bare root have another name? Is it the same as osha root?
Yes, bare root and osha root are the same. Yes, Legisticum porteri. That's the what is that language? That is
The Latin.
The Latin name. That's the Latin name for that. And if you really look at the plant, It kind of looks like wild carrot, except it grows in high elevations, like over 8,000 feet. But it is part of the parsley family, and it's really similar to our wild cat, our wild carrot. And so just knowing that, you would know that wild carrot or Queen Anne's lace probably has some type of affinity also. And guess what? It does. So we have the medicines that we need according to our territory that we're living in. So the medicines that are up here from the north in the wooded areas are totally different than those that grow in the desert, but both are helpful. So I'm just putting that out there as well, because we really have to just feel out your medicine. So I want to share this one little story with you, and the reason I want to share it is because you'll get kind of like maybe a better idea of medicines. Medicines are, they're us. If you look at a medicine plant, it grows just like we do. So the roots are our legs, and that's what keeps us grounded. So how many times do you put your feet on the ground, take some nice deep breaths, and as you exhale, you feel yourself being grounded back into the earth? Well, that comes through our feet and our legs, and that's our grounding. So our body, or our trunk, and our arms, that represents kind of like the leaves. And then of course the face, or the head, represents represents a lot. It actually represents, we're seed carriers, and this is where our seeds kind of live. And so our seeds kind of live in our brain, believe it or not. So if you're looking to heal different parts of your body, look at what needs the healing. If you're going through emotional issues, well then, of course, you would think of some flowers, or those that come from the top of the plant, because they have the affinity to what you're healing. If you're looking for systemic healing, well then you could use the herb, and you could also use the flowers as well, or a combination of the two. And again, that's going to give you that systemic healing. The root is that deeper healing, because it's that deeper connection. So a lot of times the root medicines are, they're very grounding, and they're very powerful. So that's why you don't kind of use as much of the root most of the time. So with that, I have it's kind of like I guess a little bit of a listing of some of the herbs that we would use for this type of time of the year. If we look at our old diet, so this is before we had grocery stores. This is while we still lived on the land and there was no money, and we had to survive. We had to survive by understanding what was growing during the different seasons. So for instance, if we were looking in the springtime, we have just gone through a long winter, we're getting to the end of our food stores, and we haven't got all of that fresh vegetables and everything, fresh roots and different things back then. So our body is now starting to get ready for another change. And all of a sudden, here comes our maple syrup. So our maple syrup, oh my gosh, in the spring, make sure that you get, if you can, some of the syrup before it is processed down into the maple syrup. I just have to, don't be taking too much. You don't need much, you only need a small amount, because it will certainly do a really good cleansing for you. So imagine going through that winter, and all of a sudden the trees start to run. It's like, oh my gosh. And you take that that little bit of syrup, and it gives you that strength and that energy that you need to move to the next part of your journey. So that would be like harvesting some of the different roots and different things that are going to start coming up real soon. For us, we have what we call a cycle of ceremonies. A cycle of ceremonies, it means that we start with that syrup, and we do a ceremony for opening the trees. So we do that ceremony for opening the trees, and then we tap those trees, and we make it into whatever we're making it into. And when the syrup is done, then we do a ceremony to close the trees. And again, it's just having that well, I'll use the word spiritual, but it's a natural connection. I guess more of a natural connection to that celestial world. So we have to continually be giving thanks. For us, when we do these ceremonies all year, when we're finished eating a meal, for an example, we don't say a prayer before our meal. All we do afterwards is say "Nya," which means thank you. And because we've already been doing the prayers, and we're just so happy that we have the sustenance to keep us going and fresh again. So we go through the seasons that way. So the spring, that syrup marks the change of, the beginning of the roots, and now, bloodroot and a lot of different medicines start to appear. And so that starts to what we call build our body again. So we build our body, and then during the summer, well, boy, we have everything at our, available. Then we're able to eat the different flowers, and we have a whole wide range of things. We don't eat that much meat in the summer because we don't need that meat. The only time we really need meat is in the fall time, and that's to prepare our natural fat storage. We need to be able to find a way to work with that oncoming cold. And so we just need a little bit of extra protection. So we kind of, we learn to what we call eat with the seasons. And then we get into the winter time. And of course, we had to learn how to store our food and have, so we would use smoking to dry our food, and, canning and different things, so that we would be able to have that food during the winter time. So I'm going to give you maybe an example of a really nice fall medicine drink that you can make. And it's considered what we might call a tonic. So what is a tonic? A tonic is something that has great potential for those that have a lot of different types of ailments and issues. But a tonic is kind of like a gentle way to work with your body. So it's kind of like you have water, and then you have tea, and then you have kind of like alcohol, and you have like really strong things. So there's a kind of like a level there. So I would look at tonic teas as something like just something simple like water. And of course, if you're making a tea, you're using that element of water, and it's gentle to your system, and it's gentle to your body. But you always have to be careful, because some medicines still interact with some of the medications you're taking. So you always have to use caution when you're working with our medicines, and you always have to consider that those medications are doing the same things that the teas can possibly do. So when you do too much of a good thing, sometimes that works not to your advantage. But a tonic is kind of like a gentle tea, so that it doesn't have the side effects that a stronger tea might have. So these are some examples of, I guess, roots that are really good for this time of year. So I'll just tell you maybe a few of them here, And then you can kind of say, and then maybe pick 2 or 3, and then I'll tell you how to make kind of like a tonic tea with that. So the list I have is astragalus, marshmallow, burdock, dandelion, ashwagandha, panax ginseng, and yellow dock. So what you can do is like take, I would say, 5 tablespoons maybe, or not even a tablespoon isn't well defined. I would say more kind of like a tablespoon pinch of each of those. So you want to take 5 tablespoons and you want to put them into a sealable quart jar. So when you put them into a sealable quart jar, then you're going to boil your water, and then you're going to pour the boiling water into the jar, and then you're going to close it. And then you're going to put it kind of like a place that's a little bit dark, and then keep it there overnight, at least 8 hours overnight. And then the next morning, what you do is you can strain it, and then all day you just kind of like sip on that tea. Sometimes roots tend to be a little bit bitter, and it's because they're working on that really deep healing mechanism. So because they're a little bit bitter, feel free sometimes to add like a cinnamon stick. I found cinnamon sticks to greatly enhance the taste of any tea. Well, you have to like cinnamon, and I happen to love cinnamon. So for me, it's a beautiful addition to, your tea tasting. So it also works with any other teas that you're working. If you want to, like, instead of using sugar, use cinnamon to flavor, or one of your favorite spices, just add a little bit to flavor. That's helpful. So when you dispose of the roots after you strain it, it's always best if you could put them back to the land. So, you can put them in the compost if you like, or you can, find an outdoor space where you can, maybe put these medicines, and that's just kind of like being the respectful part. So the second to third roots were marshmallow and burdock. So I just saw a comment fly on the screen really fast. So number 2 and 3 were marshmallow and burdock. Now, both of them to me taste heavenly. For some reason, I'm just in love with the taste of that burdock. It's got kind of like a nutty taste to me. Out of all of this list, there's many more that can be added, but this is just kind of like a, just kind of giving you examples of something that you can do. And so, and that's also an easy way to make your tea, because a lot of people don't like to spend a lot of time making tea. Some people, it's like a passion, and they love making tea, but some people don't. So for those that don't, this is kind of like an easy thing you can do, and the benefits will be great. So when you're drinking the tea, it's best not to chug, chug, chug. It's best to inhale and sip. So as you're inhaling, automatically your senses are being made aware of, this tea that you're tasting. And then all of a sudden, then you're getting to the part where now I'm going to sip it, and I'm going to see where it sits in my body. And where it sits in your body is probably an area that is asking for a little bit of attention. So anytime you're drinking teas like this, I would say that you always have to give teas a break. So you can drink these. So say you're drinking this for about 5 weeks. So when you're drinking this for about 5 weeks, then give it a rest, and then maybe not do it again until the springtime. So I see that my time is like, wow, 1:41. Holy cats. So maybe I see there's a lot of questions in the chat. I just also wanted to give you a couple ideas for how do I reduce stress in a natural way. So this time of year, our days are becoming shorter. And for those that, have sad or that depression that comes in the wintertime, this might be something that you take to heart and start practicing now, because you can do this anytime, anywhere, and it's soothing and it's very helpful to your mind, body, soul. So it's really simple. So what you simply do is you face the sun. So today's a beautiful day to do it. I mean, there's lots of sunshine, but even if there isn't any sun, you can pretend that there's a sun and you can still bring this energy in. So all you simply do is raise your hands to the sun. You take a nice deep breath and you bring the sun into your mind. So you're just kind of like, and you're just asking the sun, just to help me to have good thoughts and to say the right things today and to go through the right experiences that I need, or whatever prayer it is that you need. The next thing you do is you put your arms and you bring it to your heart. You bring that energy into your heart. It's a loving, kind energy, the sun, very healing. A lot of us have a lot of issues that stem from, our heart place. And so again, you're putting that loving, kind energy from the sun. The next thing you do is you bring it into what I would call your solar plex or your lower stomach. And again, this is an area where we hold a lot of our stress. A lot of our emotional energies are stored here as well. So you simply want to bring that energy there. And then the fourth time you do it, you bring it to any place that needs healing. So say you have a sore neck. Well, you can bring that energy in and you can place it on your sore neck or your shoulders or, wherever it is sore. So it doesn't take that long to do. You can do it in less than a minute. You can do it in 5 minutes. You can take the time that you need to do this. So anytime that you're feeling that you have that sadness, take that time, use that exercise, and bring in that light into your body. That light into your body is so important because that's what activates our brain and our mind. So depression is this. It's kind of like being trapped, and your mind is just not, acting the way it should or being the way it should. So you might want to have a brush afterwards too, because I can see that my hair gets ruffled up when I do that. But so that's an easy trick. And this other one I'll share with you really quick is one that my brother taught me. He's an OPP, and if they come upon a very stressful accident or situation, this is what they teach. So they just teach you to put your hands in front of you and for 100 times, open and close your hands. Like just like that, opening and closing your hands 100 times. And when you do that 100 times, it takes it brings you back from that place of stress and trauma. It just helps you to bring your mind back. So those are two things that I wanted to share with you because I feel that the more tools that we have in our tool belts, the more powerful it is. The other thing that we can do to really make ourselves feel more healthy is reflexology. Now, for those that have diabetes, reflexology, oh my God. Once you get reflexology done, you want to have it done every day. However, it's probably not possible But reflexology stimulates your whole body simply by working all the nerve endings in your feet, and it kind of enhances circulation, and it just helps your mind and body to rest, because sometimes when we're all stressed, we can't sleep. Well, reflexology is one of those things that puts our body into what we call a state of relaxation, and your body has more power to heal itself. So going along with reflexology is also the massage, because what happens, like our bodies, like they just get hard. Our body should be soft. So when you touch your body, your shoulders, like I just had to put my hand on somebody's shoulder and I can tell their level of stress. And most people are like out of this world. It's like, oh my goodness, you just need a massage, because the thing is, you need to soften up your body so you can do it yourself, your arms and different parts, but it's always nice to have someone else to do that. I see a question here about a medicine that would recommend for sleep. I do have a blend I call Peaceful Dreams, and Peaceful Dreams has like chamomile and passion flower, different things in it. All of these are meant to calm you so that you can sleep. One of the very good ones, especially if you are like in a deep state of stress or anxiety, is valerian root. So valerian root works so powerfully that you don't have to wait until you make a tea. You can just simply chew on the root. And another one that you can do that with is, of course, that bare root. So I'm really pushing bare root because I see how important it is in fighting so many things. Bare root is one that I carry with me when I travel. When I go to Mexico, and I went to Guatemala and Ecuador and different places like that, and with that root, it prevented me from getting sick from whatever it was I was eating that my system wasn't used to, and the water. And so I would just keep chewing bare root, especially if my stomach started to feel a little something. I would chew on that bare root, and it wouldn't take much time, and it was gone. So bare root also works for that anxiety as well. Just chew on a little bare root, and it helps you to settle. So I better now answer some questions here. I don't know if Jessica, if you want me to, if you want to ask the question so that I can.
Sure, there are quite a number here.
Okay.
I apologize to everyone. I'm not sure if we'll make it through all of them, but I'll try to get a representative sample. And if anybody needs to follow up afterwards, I'll drop my email in the chat after. And perhaps, Gail, if you have a contact that you want to share, you can as well. So one quick one here. What size jar is used to mix the teas?
Oh, 1 quart. It's just a quart jar. So 1 quart is 4 cups.
Okay, question, do you have a tea for diabetes?
Many. Out of all of the medicines that I carry at my shop, I would say I have at least 50 that help with diabetes. One of the teas that I really like is blueberry leaf, or even blueberries. If you want to make like a nice blueberry tea or a blueberry leaf tea. I find people who use that. I sometimes blend that with blackberry as well. So you have blueberry and blackberry leaf. It helps with their energy levels. That's a big one, but it also helps with lowering their high blood sugar numbers.
Wonderful.
But again, there's many, like anything from like prickly ash bark, janema, goat's rue. Boy, I have a long list.
We have a couple of questions here as well. Thank you, about medicine for poison ivy, about is jewelweed useful, and would it also be useful in treating bee, wasp, or yellow jacket stings?
Okay, so that's a good one. Jewelweed grows within the same territory as the poison ivy. And if you use it fresh right away, it does have, you know, it will help with it. You have to know what jewelweed looks like though. And that's the problem. People don't always know, you know, what jewelweed looks like. They don't even know what the poison ivy looks like. So hence, dry weed is not quite as effective, but it does work. It does work. So you can put that kind of like, make a tea, and you can soak the affected area. So I put a cloth in and lay it directly onto the areas that you know, contacted the dermatitis. Um, the best thing you can do is, as soon as you get home, use soap and water to wash yourself down. The soap and water is going to it's kind of that oil from the plant that causes the reaction. So what you want to do is you want to get rid of that oil first. The big thing to always remember is if you're going into a wooded area and you don't know what poison ivy or poison anything looks like, wear long sleeves, wear pants, and keep your feet covered, because if you do that, there's going to be less chance that you have a reaction. And, you know, just be careful where you put your hands. And some people react to plants that other people don't react to too. So nature is wonderful and wise, but you have to, you know, just make sure that you make sure that you're attentive to where you're going. One of the big ones right now is what is that tall white one? I can see it.
Hogweed.
Hogweed. That one really has an effect on us. And if you don't know what that looks like, maybe look it up online. So if you're going into an area that might grow hogweed, that you know what it is. And the other one is, it's yellow. It looks like a mustard plant. And right now, again, that is one that causes a lot of skin irritation. So you have to be really careful if you don't know about medicines. And that's why it's always good to go on a walk with those that have a knowledge of these things, so that they can show you, look at that is right there, that is poison ivy or whatever, or skin irritant. One of the things that irritate your skin also is nettle. But nettle is I would call it a good irritation, because in the old day, what they would do is, as soon as you hit nettle, it stings. But it also is good at taking away pain. So what they would do is they would gather some nettle and they would hit say you had arthritis in your arm or in your fingers or something, they would hit that area and it would sting like heck. But after the stinging went away, it took the pain. So there's a whole bunch of things to know about working with our medicines. Somebody was asking for information on how to contact me. So I'll put in here my website, and I'll put in here my store's phone number, just so that you have access to, oops, I'm forgetting my phone number here. And then I also have Facebook, and I also have, what else? Apparently I'm on Twitter and that too, except I don't know that. So messages come in and I have somebody else answer it, because I don't know. I must have Twitter, but I just don't know that I do.
Okay, Gail, I'll gather that for everybody and make sure everybody gets sent that information after the webinar. I
Okay.
think we can gather one or two other questions here, but then anything that gets left, I apologize to anyone whose question isn't answered, but if it does pertain to Gail's business, you may be able to direct the question further down the line. Elisa asks, if we are gathering our own dandelion, burdock, or yellow dock, etc., are there special instructions for preparing the root before using it for tea?
Yeah, if you're gathering that, make sure you cut it right away. So as you gather, you want to make sure that you wash them off really well, and then cut them to the size that you want right away, because when you're drying roots, they get really hard, and so you're going to have a hard time cutting them afterwards, unless you have like one of those machetes that cuts them. But I mean, some roots are really difficult, especially once they dry. And also when you're drying roots, make sure that you don't dry them in full sun, because they won't dry as wonderfully. So, they have those screens. How you dry those is put them on those screens, but put them someplace away out of the sun, kind of like in a darker area, so that they'll dry better for storage especially.
Thank you. And I'll go to one last question from Terrence, and then perhaps that will be the last question, so I have a little time to follow up with my last slide. But Terrence asks, how do we prepare, harvest, or grow medicines ethically and not over-harvest?
If you're harvesting roots, first of all, there's a whole procedure, a whole protocol kind of for harvesting. So when you're doing medicine walks, you're just kind of looking, but when you're actually harvesting, you never harvest the whole section, for one, and you don't need that many roots. So if you are harvesting roots, make sure that you don't take the whole patch, but also that you're ethical about where you take them from. I mean, some roots like burdock, they grow a lot. They grow everywhere. And they have what they call tap roots, which are real long roots. And because they have real long roots, a lot of times you don't get to the very bottom, and so then they will regrow. But all of them have different root systems. If you don't need the root, well, then don't harvest the root. The same for if you're, say, gathering wild carrot. If you're gathering wild carrot, snip just above the root so that you're not taking the root. And that way you'll be able to use the medicine, and the roots will still be there, and they'll be able to provide for the next season. So there's a lot of things that you have to do to be ethical, but the thing is to also make sure you know how much you want to gather for. So if you want to gather, say, for your family over the winter, or do you want to gather for yourself the winter? Do you want to gather for your community? Like, how much are you gathering for? Because then you can kind of get an idea. Well, I need to fill up this quart jar, with root. Well, in that case, then that's how much you pick. You don't over harvest that. So just be ethical and just don't go out there and pick everything, because then you won't have that opportunity again.